This is Alternate History 100. Welcome to the class.
Good morning. A while back, I shared a 2024 CBS poll ranking all the presidents from best to worst. And at number 4, we had... Anybody?
Teddy Roosevelt.
Very good. There's a little teddy bear for you. Did you know they were named after him? Roosevelt is number 4 because he accomplished so much during his 7.5 years in the White House. He's worthy of his spot on Mount Rushmore. But he was also an accidental president, which leads me to ask, what if he never got there? I want to start with some backstory. Roosevelt began his political career when he was elected to the New York State Assembly at the age of 23. Not much older than you. He quickly became one of the Republican leaders known for his opposition to corrupt party machine politics. And then he suffered a defeat. I wonder if his enemies had anything to do with that. He spent 2 years ranching in the Dakota Territory and then came back. He served as a member of the U.S. Civil Service Commission and then as police commissioner in New York City. That is why Frank Reagan had Teddy's photo hung in his office on Blue Bloods. I know your parents watched that show. Roosevelt became Assistant Secretary of the Navy during President McKinley's first term. He advocated for war with Spain over Spanish atrocities in Cuba, and when that war actually came, he resigned his position and organized a cavalry regiment to fight there. You gotta respect a man who is willing to put his own life on the line and not just ask other men's sons to do the fighting for him. He distinguished himself there and came home a hero. Thomas C. Platt, Republican Party boss of New York, was looking for a good candidate to run for governor. He regarded Roosevelt as a bull in a china shop, but Teddy promised that he would not attack the party machine. He won the election and immediately broke that promise, removing several corrupt politicians from office, securing a corporation franchise tax, and establishing a civil service system. Platt was outraged and decided to get rid of the troublemaker by pushing him into the nomination for vice president on McKinley's 1900 campaign. Vice president. Someone said it's a job where your main duty is going to funerals. John Nance Garner said the job wasn't worth a bucket of warm spit. Only he didn't say spit. And so Teddy Roosevelt, the action man, was stuck in a powerless position. But I think you know what happened next. September 6, 1901, President McKinley was in Buffalo shaking hands with well-wishers at the Pan American Exposition. And among that crowd was a young anarchist named Leon Czolgosz. He pulled a pistol and fired 2 shots into McKinley's torso. 8 days later, McKinley succumbed to his wounds, and the bull in the china shop became the man in charge with all the power to put his ideas into action. He wasted no time in doing so. His square deal was a domestic program that focused on conservation, corporate law, and consumer protection. I could spend all day telling you about it. It had more acts than Coachella. Yeah, I know, I've used that joke before. But it covered everything from meat inspection to food dyes to labor laws and safety rules for the mines and railways. And that is only scratching the surface. It also established 5 national parks and protective measures for wildlife, including the buffalo, which had almost been driven to extinction. On the international side, Roosevelt quoted an African proverb, "Speak softly and carry a big stick." He built up the American Navy, deflected European intervention in Venezuela and the Dominican Republic, and supported rebels in Panama, which back then was part of Colombia. And after Panama became an independent nation, he struck a deal with the new government for control of land through which a canal would be built. But that's our world. Over there, Leon Czolgosz did not shoot McKinley. Maybe he realized at the last minute that there was no way he could escape. He was not some old man with 6 months to live who wanted to do something big before he died. He was only 28. Maybe fear overcame his misguided convictions. Or maybe he just had a hole in his pocket and lost the dime he needed for trolley fare to the event. Hey, for want of a nail. Whatever the reason, he did not shoot McKinley. McKinley went on, doing very few of the things that Roosevelt did in our world. There were no food and drug laws, no new safety laws, no national parks. And he did not foment a rebellion in Colombia. Instead, he struck a deal with Nicaragua to build a canal there. You think it's a bigger dig, but it isn't really. There's a big lake in the middle of Nicaragua that could be part of the route. And if that seems far-fetched, know that the French proposed such a route in the 19th century, and the Chinese have proposed it in our time. A second canal controlled by China. Imagine that. It might make Trump's head explode. I knew you would like that line. The absence of Roosevelt's progressive legislation meant that things didn't change much for the common man, despite cries for reform. They came up on the 1904 election. McKinley followed tradition and did not go for a third term as president. Roosevelt tried to get the Republican nomination for himself, but the party bosses did not want him, choosing instead Charles Warren Fairbanks, who was Roosevelt's vice president in our world. And Teddy did in that world's 1904 what he did in our 1912. He formed a breakaway party of his own. When the election came, the divided Republicans were beaten by Democrat Alden B. Parker, who lost that election in our world. Parker had some pro-labor policies, but he also supported the gold standard, which kept the money supply tight, inflation low, and millions in poverty. Things were tough for the common man in those days, and in that world there was no one there to make them better. And that's where I'm going to stop. I want you to dig into the materials I've brought back and write 2,000 words on some aspect of that world. Did they ever have national parks? Did they manage to save the buffalo? What were labor relations like? How did Eugene Debs and the socialists do in a world where the lot of the common man was even worse than it was here? Did Panama ever become independent? What was the ecological effect of building a canal in Nicaragua? How did that canal hold up in the 1972 earthquake? Did the United States allow the Sandinistas to come to power in Nicaragua when that was the route for the canal? Or did it get pulled into another Vietnam in Central America? What do kids there have instead of teddy bears? That's a big old basket of topics. I'm sure you'll find something that intrigues you. Class dismissed. Hi, I'm Gary Wheeler. Alternate History 100 is a labor of love with the twin goals of entertaining you and making you think. If you like what you heard today, please hit the subscribe button, give us a like, and tell your friends about us. Your word of mouth can really help this channel grow. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another episode. Until then, keep thinking and make some history of your own.
The preceding was a work of fiction and should not be taken as actual history.